welcome to episode 17 of United City Randomiser. If you haven't seen the last episode, episode 16, it's worth going and having a look at. We deal with all of the transfer window dealings, all of the players that we've got out of the club and bought into the club, and then we've spent a while comparing and contrasting our squad against each other and seeing what we've got available to us this season. It's worth having a look at just to get up to date with where we are for this season, season 3 of our United City Randomiser. So if you have seen that, and you're ready for what we've got next, what we're going to do today is, again, we're going to slightly change the style of video that we do. I'm going to make them a bit shorter than they have been. They've been overrunning a bit. So we're going to play one game against Arminia Bielefeld today. But before we do that, we're just going to talk a little bit of tactics and how we've set up the team to work this particular season. So what you'll see on the tactics is that we keep our 4-3-3 formation. I think it works for the players that we've got into the club, but there are options for us to play in terms of the style of play. You can see that we've got in our first slot, we've got a controlled possession style of play. It's balanced in its mentality. There's lots of short passing, and it's all quite much more low tempo and worried about keeping the ball and working into the box rather than long shots, etc. We dribble less. In transition, it's about holding the shape and regrouping and slowing the pace down from the goalkeeper, playing the ball simply out of defence so we keep possession. You can see it's quite low in its defence. Positional start, a standard start for our attacking engagement, but it's just quite tight and trying to be controlled and measured in our play. And we're going to try and use this when we think that we're fairly even in terms of how we're matched to the opposition, and we're going to try and see if we can be patient and keep the ball away from them and work our opportunities well. It might provide slightly less dynamic football, but that's the style of play that we'll go for when we're fairly average in terms of who we're playing against. The second option doesn't change our formation, as you can see. None of this changes our formation. We play the same formation, but we're going to play it 3 different ways for 3 different types of team. And this is a bit more of a cautious approach, so we'll use this against some of the bigger sides. We're going to try and draw them onto us and then counter-attack on the wide areas. We've got a bit of pace around our side this season, so it's going to help us. So we'll see what that means. You can see the passing is still short, but it's a little less short than it was, but we're playing at a higher tempo when we get the opportunities to break. Shoot on sight, so that's going to be a bit more impactful from long distance. We got quite a few goals last season from long distance. We're going to run at the defence more and be a bit more energetic. In terms of when possession's been lost and when it's been won, instead of regrouping and holding shape, we're going to counter press, we're going to counter on them, we're going to be a bit more dynamic in that part of the game. The goalkeeper's going to distribute more quickly. You can see that to soak up the play, we've lowered the defence back into a low position, and we've also brought the attacking engagement line further back as well, made us much more compact whilst we're trying to hold our shape and regain the ball. And then it will be the quick movement of wide players and the pace in our side that hopefully will help us be able to counter-attack. We'll see how it works. None of this is set in stone. We can always tweak these as we go. The pressing intensity here is much more urgent in terms of this style of play. So that's the counter-attacking style. So we've had the balanced style of controlled possession. Then we've had the more cautious approach of soaking the play up and then counter-attacking. And the third one, against some of our lesser opponents in the league and some of the easier potential teams to play maybe, we've gone for a third spot, which is using our wide players and the width of our side and the pace that we have in a more positive way. So this will be our more attacking play when we think we're the more dominant of the sides. So you can see we've got extremely wide as our attacking width, so we're going to use all of the width of the pitch to try and get some decent crosses in, etc. You can see we're going to be playing down the flanks more. Passing is standard. I don't really ever want to go long passing. I don't think we need to. We've got some decent central midfielders for ball play now, so we can keep the ball better, hopefully with a shorter style of play. But on this one, it's a bit more standard. Higher tempo again. Let's see if we can get after them. More expressive. Run at the defence more. In transition, we've left the when it's been lost blank. We can, process that as we go, but we're still counter-attacking them a bit more. The distribution is quicker, but it's being distributed to the wide areas quicker. So you can see that, you know, there's a real change in terms of how we play this formation. We've moved the defensive line up to standard. We've created a attacking line, engagement line of standard as well. So that moves everything forward. I don't want to go all out on the press too high up the pitch because, you know, we still need to hold shape. So we'll see how that works out. But you can see that there are 3 different ways to play the same formation. Today against Bielefeld, I feel like we've got the advantage in terms of our players and what we've got available to us. So we're going to go with our option number 3, which is our wide play, our wing play, a bit more attacking, a bit more positive in terms of its style of play. The only player we haven't got available to us today is Searsleben, our young defender, the homegrown young defender. He's out for a couple of weeks with a knock, so he can't play, but he probably wouldn't have got into this team at the moment anyway. So at the beginning of season 3, this is how we're going to line up in terms of our first 11. We've got Greitbust in goal, Cruiser at right back, Heiss at left back, Tiru and Omaru as a central defensive pair. We've got Silva playing the sort of deep line playmaker role in a couple of different ways depending on what structure we use. We've got El Neni, who plays more of a central midfield supporting role. We've got Marin, who's our Metzala on the attacking midfield role. We've got Hahn on the right. We've got Dil Rossen on the left. And we've got Barbosa up front. And we've got plenty of options on the bench in terms of how we can change the game as we progress. So let's get into our game today against Arminia Bielefeld and see how well we can do on our custom wing, more attacking style of play. So there you can see Bielefeld are going to play quite a defensive formation of 4-5-1 really, probably holding their shape quite a lot. It's going to be a bit hard for us to break down, so that's another reason why it's good for us to be on the front foot and trying to push them as much as is possible. But, you know, we'll see what sort of challenge they present in terms of breaking their side down. I don't want to overload them at this point. We've had a couple of decent enough results so far in 2 draws against 2 very hard teams in Bayer Leverkusen and Hertha Berlin so far this season. So I'm just going to encourage them to go out and have some fun, enjoy the game. Hopefully that will free their minds up to go and play well against what is a weaker opposition. Bielefeld, after a couple of games, are bottom of the table. So I'm really hoping for some positivity today and a decent result that we can really start to move on from in terms of how we look for this season. We'll see what happens in terms of the stats of the game, but you can see at the moment their possession stats are much higher than ours. I guess that's the style of play that we've got. You know, we're not going to be passing the ball short and keeping it for a long period of time. We're going to get it and try and be more dynamic. So hopefully as the game goes on, we'll have more opportunities than they do potentially, but they have the first highlight. They bring it through. Lots of space on our right-hand side of our defence that one of their attacking players got into. Put the ball wide though. They get a corner kick. The corner comes in and the header goes straight over the bar, so we end up with a goal kick. So not brilliant in terms of our defensive play. You can see on this near side as the play moves, that player made a huge move and nobody tracked him and ended up in lots of space. So that's something worth thinking about as we move forward. They had an opportunity, but they didn't take it. So far, it's been a very dominant possession game from them, which is a little bit of a concern. I didn't think it would necessarily go that far. I thought we would dominate possession just because we're more attacking minded. Here's our corner. The corner comes in but is cleared and cleared very well. Long ball up to their attacking option, but we got a foot in and it goes out for a throw in on their side. 5 minutes to go of normal time, then a couple of minutes of added time probably. Very, very disappointing. I will be quite assertive in my halftime talk that they haven't been good enough, that they haven't shown enough, and that I need them to do more in the second half. So we'll wait for our opportunity to do that, really, as the halftime goes without another incident. Yeah, disappointing. So let's go in and we'll assertively say I'm far from pleased with what I've just seen. That fires everybody up. Let's hope that they come out in the second half and show much more about themselves. Have we picked up a bit of a knock somewhere? Dil Rossen has picked up a little bit of a knock. It seems he's lower than everybody else in his condition. We'll give him 10 minutes and see where that leads him, but it might mean that we have to change him at some point in the next sort of 15 minutes or so. A cross comes in from our corner kick, ends up on the edge of the area, and that's a lovely shot from wide in the area by Dilrosun. The corner came in, it found its way to Marin on the edge of the box, who passed it into Dilrosun in plenty of space, and on his right foot put it in the far part of the goal. You can see here, there's the pass back to Cruiser, who goes out to Marin, who sees Dilrosun on the space. It was his left foot that he put the ball right into that bottom far corner of the goal, and that was a nice move, lovely bit of play from our corner kick. And you can see that Dilrosun's sitting on 74% now. I am going to change him. I don't want to cause him a problem, so we'll just watch this highlight through, and then I'll make a substitution and probably bring Bertram on for him. I don't need injuries at this point. But here's the long ball to Hahn, who crosses it to the far side, and there's the player of the hour, Dilrosun. Even though he's slightly low in his conditioning compared to everybody else, he's made the real difference. I could keep him on, of course I could. Is he offside? He might just be slightly offside. That's very disappointing, minuscule. But I just don't need him to pick up any particular problems. So we're going to bring Bertram on. That's why we've created the squad that we have. So we have options. Bertram has always played quite well for us, so I don't have worries about playing him. So we'll see what that does for the remainder of the game. Decent opportunity, that last one, though. Just shame it was like millimetres offside. Barely, but you can see that it was. Here's another opportunity on the long throw for us. Silva picks the ball on the edge of the area, gets it across to Tiru. If it wasn't offside or anything, you can see that we had loads of players there waiting for an opportunity to strike, and it landed to Tiru, and he puts the ball in the back of the net. Here's the positivity of our long throws. We've got good long throws. Heiss, and then Silva plays it square, so he wasn't offside, and Tiru pokes it past the goalkeeper, and the defence were nowhere to be seen. That happened to us, against us, loads of times last season, that our defence went to sleep. So it's nice to see it happen to somebody else. We're in the 66th minute, maybe time to make a couple more changes, just to introduce a couple of fresh legs. We've got a yellow card to Heiss. Havers, our reserve left back, is on the bench, so I am going to change that again. Same with Dilrosun. I didn't want him to pick up any further knocks. I don't want Heiss picking up any further yellow cards. We don't need that, so I'll take him off. And the other player that I'm going to change is Barbosa. He hasn't had much of a sniff at goal. He's slightly lower in his ratings compared to everybody else. And we now have the option of Batshuayi on the bench, so we've got to use him now that he's here. So we'll bring him on and see whether he can change our fortune in front of goal from our striker position point of view. You can see that the stats of the game are fairly even now. The possession has evened out a bit, although we're slightly less, but I would expect that. In terms of our focus of attacks, they've been pretty good, mostly wide, which you would expect in terms of the style of play. So that's obviously working. We've had 9 shots on goal, 5 on target, which isn't a bad percentage. That's all right. So all in all, 2-0 against Arminia Bielefeld, who are one of the lesser sides in the division. I'm all right with it. We've played quite well, and what we've demonstrated is if you get the style of play right against the opposition, then it can work for you. And today we went on our attacking play a bit more. The next game we might go to our controlled possession, just depending on who it is that we're playing. That's the end of the game. Apparently it was truly exceptional. As the last bit of commentary said, we got a very good 2-0 win. I'm happy with it. It really sets us moving forward. So we'll encourage them and passionately say a nice victory, well done. That encourages everybody. Everybody looks delighted. I'm happy about that. We'll go and see what that does to our league position, whether it's helped us. Well, that's what happens in the beginning of the season. If you get a win or so when the season starts, you bump your position quite high. We've played a game extra to everybody else. They're just about to play. But that shows that we're in a decent position. We've had 3 games, 2 very tough draws against a decent opposition. And then we go and pick up a win against one of the weaker sides. Let's see what the comments have to say. Clinical finishing, the difference. Brilliant. Dilrosun on form. No talk about him having a knock or anything. That's good. There's the training. El Nini, I don't know why he's so low in his training. I'm going to criticise that. That's not good for a senior player like that. I've got to hold my hands up and admit that you're right. I'll work hard to improve. That's all we're asking for. Brilliant. So that's that sorted. So yes, there you go. Episode 17 done. We picked up a decent win. What have we got coming up game-wise in the not-too-distant future? As I say, I want to keep these episodes slightly shorter than they have been. So we might come back and possibly do a double header in here somewhere, but we might just come back and play Bayern, depending on results around us and what happens, but it'll probably be in and around there. So that'll do it for today. Thanks very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's great to have your company as we move through this save. And I will see you for episode 18 very soon for United City Randomiser. See you soon. Thanks very much for watching this episode of the United City Randomiser save. If you enjoyed the video, then why not click on the like button, as that would really help me. If you think you know anyone who would really enjoy my Football Manager content, then feel free to share this with them. But most importantly, if you would like to join my United City here on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with my video releases. If you have anything you want to say about the United City save or the channel itself, then feel free to leave a comment below, but please try and be nice with each other. That'll do for today, so until next time, stay happy and healthy, and I will see you soon.